From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out.
There's something about like throwing good money after bad or doing it right the first time. If you just say like, how do we budget this to do this right the first time? And then listen to them and do it, because you'll end up going over a budget or just throwing, is it throwing good money after bad? Bad money, something like that. You end up spending that money, whether you do it right the first time or not. Some of it is unavoidable, like wrap stuff. If you don't give the costume department enough time to do it, are you guys familiar with the loss and damage? Have you ever dealt with costume rental houses?
Yeah, they're not very friendly.
They need time to go through this. You lose things, you damage things. Your costume, you've stopped paying your costume department to answer the phone. Because guess what? Like this has happened to me where I'm like, you've run out of money to pay me. I'd love to work on your project, but I'm going to pick up the phone from the people who pay me. Like, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not here to do any favors. So you have to have in mind that this money is going to get spent. So just try to spend it in the right place.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often find like anytime you try to cut corners, it's going to bite you. It's going to bite you on some other way. So yeah, it's better to really assess exactly how much does it cost to do this realistically. And sometimes I find that one of the best ways to mess with the budget, instead of always having my producer do it, is to adjust as a director my vision for what it can be. I always think, can I tell the same story in a cheaper way?
That's also super good. And I mean, depending on who you end up working with, I know I've spent a lot of time making relationships that I really go out of my way, like personally, to have good relations with the costume rental houses, with the tailors, with the dry cleaners, with studio service, with the like PR showrooms. And people who do that can make deals and can get stuff going for you. But that's why we charge more. Because we have those relationships. It's like you get what you pay for from people.
Oh, and directors, those relationships also unlock the better that you treat your team. If I'm treating Laura really well, she feels valued, she feels cared for, she believes in the project, she loves what we're doing. Those next level actually, I have a friend who owns this company. Maybe you
know what? Jason was so nice to me that I was like, you know what? I called my buddy Dragon, who makes the most magnificent, he makes like chainmail and helmets and weapons, and I think I could get him to like. You said the old school Rolodex comes out and beautiful. I did a perfume commercial for this director friend of mine, Clement, who's from Paris, and it was I called in every favor from everybody I had, and it's like magnificent. But
yeah,
it was one of those things. It was like. It's because we have that relationship.
Well, what commercial is that? Is that on your website?
It is. It's called L'Oréal. Is the perfume house? I think they're from France, and it's almost like a Renaissance style, which is not something I do a lot, but it was elaborate and beautiful, and it was a very like fantasy oriented. Like I love fantasy, science fiction, and kind of like creature horror. I'm not really into like future. I'm not a big period person. So if I can do something, this was like fully period, something that doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to be beautiful and evocative and different. That's good for me.
That's awesome. Let's watch that. We can watch that right now.
Oh, yeah, you guys could watch. Enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we watched it.
Right,
yeah, I sometimes there are certain levels of relationships too, and there's certain people in your Rolodex that, like you said, you'll only bring out for a certain occasion. Like there's some people I know that I only get maybe two asks in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to present a project to an investor or to somebody, I'm going to make sure that thing that I bring to them is like, this is the one, you know? Solid. And so there's different levels of relationship that I have that I know some of my friends I can call and they'll come to anything. And then others I'm like, I know this person, but I also understand their time. They better be good.
Look, I'm not calling this person if I think the check's not going to clear.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. That's not going to happen.
I don't have any worry about where the check coming in and getting paid. There's people that I won't bother them.
Yeah, because you can burn relationships. Even though I've had somebody as a friend, if I could bring them, I'm like, I'm going to bring them on because I think they'd be awesome in this project. But if for any reason that person doesn't get, it's burned. I'm burning my own relationship. Mm-hmm. So for you, like you said, there's a risk involved for you bringing some of your contacts onto a project to work with you. So, you know, you got to believe in that project. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Super cool. So for I don't know, I think it's pretty exciting. Like I imagine like working on something like Lord of the Rings or on Star Wars or different projects where there's already a world that's there and the level of detail that goes into it. Because I work with Ray and watch the costumes get recreated. And you know, when you go to you have the cosplayers and sometimes she'll say like they'll have specific shots. She's like, I really, really love this production. And then all of a sudden there's a close up on the brooch, a close up on the, on the shoulders, the hem. She's like, oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Like, I think one film I saw recently, a series, The Wheel of Time, when Moraine in the very beginning is getting dressed, there's like, she's clipping, they show the pieces. Like, it's really almost an homage to the costume and wardrobe. I mean, the costumers. And Ray's like, cosplayers everywhere. Thank you.
We love to hear it. We love to see that. The Costume Designers Guild been doing for a few years like a promotional campaign that's called Credit the Costume Designer. And we know that of all the departments, of all the money that's spent on a film or whatever, the thing that the audience will kind of connect to the most is the costumes. Like, I mean, maybe some hair and makeup. No one's like, man, that movie was so good. I'm going to relight my house.
Unless you're Ray and she watched Blade Runner.
Like, I mean, you never know. You're like, wow, the garden in this movie was so stunning. I'm going to redo my garden and try to replicate it. It's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi was great. Like, I'm going to be him for Halloween. Like, I'm going to have my, like, a 7-year-old daughter be baby Leia.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen.
Yes.
So we're really trying to push for our department to get more recognition and to get paid more and get higher budgets because we don't have any of those things. And the fans relate to us so much from that.
Oh yeah, I mean the level of excitement, like when you're watching somebody, I was watching one time with a friend of mine. She wrote a book. She's an author. She wrote a book called The Single Woman. Mandy Hale. She was sitting there, and we went to a movie, and we went to Sex and the City. She convinced me to go to this film. I had to go.
We're not here to judge you.
I had to go see. So I'm sitting there. I don't want to watch this. She was like, "You're gonna come to this movie." I said, "Okay, fine. I'll come to this movie." In the middle of the film, they showed a pair of shoes that this girl was wearing. She freaked out. And when we got back to our apartment at the time, she literally spent 3 or 4 hours, maybe more, just trying to find a pair of shoes that was in this film because she was just like, that was it. That's all she thought about the whole movie. Yeah. So just to show you that I saw it firsthand and I was like, wow, like of the whole story, that's what she remembered. And then she finally got them. They came in the mail. She was wearing them. And a lot of times what people wear in movies and TV shows informs the design and style that people wear that following year. It's incredible.
No, it's very true. It's super influential. And we have like a symbiotic relationship with the fashion industry that we take from them, and we take stuff from the showroom, from the runway, and put it on screen. and then give it back to the public in a different way. So it's like and then sometimes we'll do our custom made stuff, or like a color scheme in a particular scene will inspire a designer, and then they'll bring that look back as well. So it really goes both ways. And what I thought was really interesting is the new Dune. There's this brand called Demo Baza. I think they're from Eastern Europe somewhere.
Eastern Europe, Poland.
Oh, they're from Poland. They're from Poland, like me.
Yeah, a lot of the good stuff comes from Poland.
Yeah, there's an aesthetic that comes from the East.
Yeah,
and they've been making this stuff that looks like Burning Man warrior costumes for a long time. And when everybody on Sci-Fi tries to buy this, and it's super expensive, I know they did a collaboration with Dune. And it really felt right, because we all know, if all of us who like make sci-fi all the time, that like we always want to buy it, and it's just something that it finally comes together.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think Demo Baza is what we discovered to do a music video that we shot maybe, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. And it was basically a pair of shoes. And when we looked at their whole website, we're like, oh my, it's literally like we're straight out of a movie. Everything that they create is literally from a movie, but it's so cool looking. The way that they do their wraps, their layers, the hoods, and it just looks bad. It's almost like Assassin's Creed meets Burning Man. In such a very cool way. And it's amazing how a movie can also make or break a company. Like their Pozo boots or whatever, they made Ray's boots for Star Wars, that company's a small Italian company, well, relatively small, but those boots were found and they sold out. Everyone's trying to find those boots. Yeah. And so it's really fascinating how much film and especially design can impact industry. So do you think culture informs the style? Does style inform culture? How much of that, and because you love psychology, so I wonder how much of it comes first. Is it the stylists that bring it first, or is it symbiotic?
I think it evolves together. I think fashion and style is very aspirational for people, and it takes them out of their everyday life, and it can make them like the lead character in their own life. But I think sometimes like the demands of people's lives create a demand in the marketplace, and I guess that's the other side. So it's kind of a two-way street.
So when do you think a style in a film, like for example, Demo Baza, it couldn't be mainstream for a long time. It's so outside of what people normally wear.
Niche. There's a lot of times where a lot of stuff that's just super, super niche and speaks to subcultures. And if somebody participates in a subculture, that's how they express that to the world with how they dress.
Yeah, and I think like Dolls Kill's an example to me. That's something that seems subculture, but it's exploding.
Yeah.
That's kind of becoming mainstream, especially in LA. Like I see Dolls Kill everywhere.
Where you see people who are dressed in that kind of style everywhere.
Yeah. Whereas before it might be here or there a person, but it's even in like purses.
In a nightclub or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Even accents. I'm always fascinated to me by accents. So, in terms of a guy dressing a guy, we can get away with, or I can, just regular pair of pants, regular pair of regular shirt. But I think for me, it's like the watch that you have, the shoes that you have, those accent features. To me, that communicates the story that I'm trying to tell. And I don't know, I like that in my films too. What are those things that stand out for me when I think of guy characters? It's the jacket, always the jacket. It's the shoes, and it's the glasses. Right. It's like those key pieces that when I think I can picture guys, it's always like Judge Dredd. I mean, Wesley Snipes with, what's his vampire film? Blade. Yeah, his jack. I mean, come on.
I love Blade so much.
Oh my God.
I love vampire movies so much. And Blade is not necessarily in most people's like top 10s, but I super love Blade.
Yep. It's amazing. This character's fun.
Yeah. Even going back to like Star Wars. I mean, back in 77, the big things were Han Solo's jacket and Luke's fitted shirt, his base shirt. Those were really big back in the day as well. Like
the accessories really were interesting. And I realized like when we were all trying to understand what makes a Star Wars outfit, and like how to make a lot of people look like they are living the world between episode 3 and 4. There's a lot of the like belts, the way the belts look, the belts, like where all the straps are, how they sit on the body. And I found just looking at those two guys' belts really informed a lot of stuff for me. I was like, oh, like Han Solo's leg drop holster, and like the way it's positioned on him was super interesting. And it's really iconic. It's usually there's like very simple things that give you like a quick visual read, and those stick in your mind. So back to kind of what Jason was asking about before, like, how do I do it? Is you're like, how do I communicate this very quickly? How do I just get like the bones of this in to make this visual impression?
Yeah, and I think I loved it. Like with Han, whenever he'd lean, he'd do that lean like this, or he'd lean on something, and even his belt would lean, and his jacket would lean, and he would lean. It was just
he's got like the swagger, and that's one of the things when you assess a person. You're like, this person, like, with their swag level.
Yeah. And it
just
matters. Those lines complement his swag. Everything. It just adds to it. Like, if his gun didn't hang quite so low, like if it was an uptight gun, it would just it wouldn't work. It's gotta be he's relaxed. He's always chill.
He's casual. We're like, Blade is like has like zero chill.
No, dude, he's 100% intense. Like,
he's got that thing he like pulls out of the bag of his jacket, and it communicates a lot about who he is.
Yeah. Now, sometimes we've had several people on the show that are they're doing all of the creature creation, and they're doing all the costuming designs ahead of time. So sometimes you're going to get sketches that are already pre-visualized by a concept artist.
Yes.
So tell me what's the difference then if you have something that comes from a concept artist? Do you use it like a Bible and you go straight by it, or do you how do you do that?
Sometimes yes. Like usually a costume designer and a costume concept art will work together to come up with the concept, and then they will they'll get with the head of the work, the custom made workroom, and try to make it as close to the drawing or the illustration as they can. And it's something that we're starting to realize is that a lot of these costume concept artists are coming from video gaming and graphic design, and they don't have the kind of background I have. I have a degree in fashion design, and I used to do apparel manufacturing. And so I have a very, very strong grasp on apparel construction. And a lot of times you got to kind of meet in the middle from these like wild concepts to what is something that a human person can actually make. And then what is something that a human person can actually perform in?
Oh yeah, that's a huge part.
That's a big one.
And comfortable. They're going to be wearing it for 10, 12 hours a day.
We also teach classes in like how to do this. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, this is someone like, sure, it's going to look cool. It's going to look super cool on screen. So they're going to do a gallery exhibit. It's going to look super cool. It's like, a woman is going to wear this who is going to have to wear it for 10, 12, 14 hours, and she's to like pee every like 90 minutes.
Oh yeah. And she has to take, it's like 30 minutes to take off, 30 minutes to put back on.
Yeah. So the concept, you like adapt the concept to make it. Like
I noticed
you design it and then you kind of adapt it in the manufacturing process.
Yeah, I noticed there's even limitations in materials. So, for example, I know Ray's doing like, you take a cartoon character like Jinx and you bring it into real life. In the drawing, the leather, it was like the leather belt does this crazy fold and hits a 90-degree angle and wraps around. And in the cartoon, it works. But in reality, the leather doesn't do that. Like if you're going to come in at an angle, the other part has to go square and drop. There's no like easy wrap around like this. It just won't work because.
No, it's true. And we're so blessed to have these incredible specialty costume manufacturers. This is the like union designation for their category. And these are people who work with leather and vinyl and make helmets and armor and grommets, and they just paint and decals and have all like make belts, make belt buckles. They have this incredible like specialty skill. The people who do this stuff are unbelievable. They're really my heroes. I can come up with it. I can put it on somebody. I don't have that kind of technical skill. Those craftspeople are incredible to me.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you never know, even like a grommet or a small belt, or even just the pin, the pins that use to hold pieces together. Every one of those is intentionally found, like, and sometimes even fabricated for the character because they don't exist. And you don't even think about that from head to toe. Sometimes a lot of that stuff doesn't even exist until that character comes. Like, you make it happen.
Yeah, and that's like the exciting part about being a costume designer, is when you have an idea and you're like, no, I really want it to be this thing that doesn't exist, that's never been seen before, and why we just should do this.
Yeah, two costumes come to mind for me when I think of that as Tron. The outfits in Tron, the LED lights, the whole thing. Yeah. Like,
have you seen Tron Guy?
Tron Guy?
Tron
is
Guy
he
on
real?
the internet? Yes.
No.
You need to check it. He's very painstakingly recreated the Tron costumes and dresses as Tron Guy. So
I love that he tries.
Yes, yes. But he's very popular.
Everybody is entitled to enjoy their fantasy.
Yep.
Exactly. And but it's so great because he shows up everywhere. As cosplay, he shows up at events, he shows up at all this, and he's very popular. And he gets very serious.
First Tron or
the first Tron, from the first Tron. Yes. But yeah, very, very awesome sight.
The other outfit for me is from Ant-Man. It's Wasp. Her costume, when the wings actually come out, they literally created that whole thing. The wings actually come out. It's phenomenal. Like the pieces that they use to show her. So after the show is made, sometimes you'll have some of the characters that are CG and put in the movie, but then you'll have ones that want to appear red carpets, or they're doing the premieres, and they actually created her outfit, and then the whole wings, like they're like almost like glass. They're like really light, and they all fall out. The mechanics are all there. I was just like, how? It blows my mind.
It's magic. There's like people who are engineers that like engineer. There's all these special people that are outside of the costume department that like can make all this stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
So what advice would you give someone who's really considering getting into this field? Like what would you tell them that's most important for them to focus on as they enter this craft in this field?
I would say just try to get clear on what your dream job is, like what the right place is for you, what you love the most, and just stay focused on getting there, and don't be shy about it. That I always knew that I 100% only wanted to do like science fiction, fantasy, like kind of like we're creature, not really. I don't really love horror, but and like vampire kind of, I don't know, werewolf, wolfman movies. And I just always would tell everybody 100% of the time, this is all I want to do. Like who do you know? How can I get there? And just eventually, and you give 100% every day in the learning process, and eventually you will get there. There's a lot of room in the industry right now for people that are passionate and professional.
What's important for people to study? What if they don't know where to go when they want to maybe get into this? What are some resources they can start finding and looking into and learning?
I think the most important thing for somebody in the costume department to know is about clothing construction. Is to know like technical terminology and construction techniques, and have the vocabulary to discuss clothes accurately, because you never have a lot of time. It's always this crazy game of telephone, and to be able to really identify and articulate everything using this like correct professional terminology, I think is super important.
So do you think fashion school or no?
That and color, to be able to understand color and talk about color. Because those are the two things that we're really doing. And with fabric, I think fabric goes in there too, but we're talking about construction and color.
Yeah. So school or not school? Do you think someone should go to fashion school if they're thinking about this, or just
if they're a young person and they are going to get an education, I would say yes, go to school. And there's so many different options. I would say don't follow your heart for the right option, and be reasonable with the budget of how expensive it is. Of don't go crazy to like go into debt because you want to get you want a bachelor's and a master's degree in costume design from like a private liberal arts school. Like if that's not what you can afford, don't do it. Like I went to FIDM in San Francisco. I had previously gone to Reed. I had gone to liberal arts school, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. But I went to 2-year, I went to technical trade school for a short time, and I got everything I needed in 2 years, like pretty reasonably. And I would say if you have the option, it was a great idea to do it. And if you live in Los Angeles, a few of the schools have feeder programs that go directly into the industry. And that's invaluable. A lot of the industry contacts that you can make from doing something like going to FIDM. I think there's like a community college program that really feeds straight into the industry. That's money really, really well spent. That will take it out of. I mean, a lot of people have to do PA work or do internships, and financially that's very, very tough, especially in today's world.
Especially in LA.
Especially in LA, there's a lot of, you almost have to come from a place of financial privilege to start getting into the industry if you can't get paid right away. So having that experience come from school may be a much better way to go.
Yeah, that's what I saved up and saved up and saved up until we could make the move. So it was one of those that I had money to be able to get started because I'd saved it. So yeah, just coming and right off the boat, trying to figure it out. Oh, no way. Like, I don't even know how. Even just a regular apartment's like $2,500 a month for 2 bedrooms. It's like, yeah, try doing that on a PA salary.
Yeah,
you'll only be eating crafty though. So you'll have no food budget.
No. And like from my personal experience, like I said, I got a degree in fashion design. I worked as a seamstress for five full calendar years of my life. And if you learn a trade, you always have a trade to do.
Right.
No matter what part of the industry you want to be in. If you want to be in fashion, I worked even in interior design as a seamstress at a certain point. So I recommend anybody who is interested in a art, a craft, or a trade to go to trade school.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow, man, it's been so wonderful having you on the show and having you share your story with us. We're already coming up on the hour mark, so we don't want to we want to be considerate of your time as well. But thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story and about what you do. It's incredible. We'd love to have you back on the show again if you're willing to talk, maybe some future projects. But
thank you so much. That would be great. I would totally love to. Hopefully I could get cleared by some of the networks to actually talk to you about things.
Great. All right. Stick around till after the show, a few minutes, and say goodbye to you, but we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
It's
wonderful.
Really exciting.
That's great.
Yeah. How many different awesome things there are to do in this industry, and so many ways to get involved into the process. And I think it is about finding those things that, like you said, you care about, you're passionate about, what excites you, what energizes you. and being able to know that every day you're going to wake up and you're going to do that thing. And there's that desire inside of you to always get better. Like if you find that thing that you're saying, I just always wanted to get better at this particular thing, then I think you're going to find out that could be a particularly good career path for you. But really exciting to see a behind the scenes look of what goes on in terms of all that, the costuming and wardrobe.
You never, and no matter what you do, you never stop learning. I mean, we all continue to learn and continue to, educate ourselves. And so it's part of what I love about this show is because us being in the entertainment industry, we need to know about others' trials, others, what they need to go through, so we can all work together better and understand each other's jobs. And so this was great because you don't really all the time think about all the work that went into a particular costume or a particular look. And that just is a testament to the amazing work, is because it creates a believable world. It creates something that's almost invisible. It's like it all goes together so well and meshes so well that you don't necessarily think about all the work that goes into it.
Well, yeah. And that's the funny part is work that's done really, really well. You don't notice it or feel it. And it's like all the care. That's how you know you've done a really good job. Like it's like the music. If the music is really, really good, you just feel it and you don't it doesn't stand out more than anything else. Same thing with the outfits. There's moments where you're just like, oh my gosh, they look so amazing. But overall, it all serves to the story. And it's almost like you are creating something so spectacular, each individual, but you want it to be not stand out any more than the next elements that are in the project.
It's believable.
Yeah, it's like Steven Spielberg was talking about the Indiana Jones theme when they're riding the motorcycle. And he said, as he was creating, he's like, I couldn't hear the music I created for that scene because the sound of the motorcycle was so loud. And he's like, we spent all this time finding all these instruments, doing all this stuff. And then at the same time, it's like, all I can hear is that motorcycle for 2.5 minutes. And he said, but it serves the story. So even although that stuff was spectacular, you can hear it on the album. It got, what was more important at the moment was just for Spielberg, that sound of that motorcycle. So like you say, you never know what piece of what you create is going to show, what's not, and everything that you do, the excellence, when it's done with excellence, it lends to and contributes to the overall story, the tell of the story. But every component is equally important. So awesome having Laura on today. It's another fantastic episode of Entertainment Dudes. We're excited that you're joining us. Cam, where can they find us?
Where can they find us? They can find us right here on YouTube or where you're listening or watching your podcast right now. We're on all the fine purveyors of podcasts all around the world. But also, check us out on YouTube and like and subscribe, because it really helps bring this show to more people who might need to watch it. And speaking of finding people, Laura, we'll have her information in the description below. So if you need a costumer or you need to figure out anything about learning costuming, well, give her a call.
Thanks. And thanks for joining Entertainment Dudes.
Bye-bye.